Good morning, Aryan. So this is the game played between you and I think it's Simran in the second round. Yeah. Okay. So here you are white and your opponent is black. You played d4, d5, knight f3, e6, e3. So this is Queen's Gambit accepted. So d into c4, bishop into c4. Very good. Bishop b4 check. Bishop d2. It's a very nice move. Just trying to trade this bishop, and you can just bring the knight or even queen to d2 followed by knight c3. Bishop e7. So bishop b4 check is completely useless here. So bishop e7, you just gained a tempo. Knight c3, castle, castle, knight c6. So in the d4 opening, usually we don't see knight c6. So if your opponent plays knight c6, he is trying to plan to break something like e5, but I think e5 is not possible here. Okay, in this position you played rook e1, maybe trying to play something like e4, but I suggest you to play something here like queen c2, which is more precise here. So, just connecting the rooks and giving chance uh, to push e4 and d5 or e4 and d5, something like that. And even if you can transpose this bishop, you can keep some pressure on that h7. So queen c2, or else if you are afraid of knight b4, you can simply play a3 and followed by queen c2. Okay, so rook e1, a6. So you played here bishop c1. I think this is a completely wrong plan. Means maybe I think you try to overestimate your position, something like b3 and bishop b2. But I don't know. I don't see any active plan for this bishop. So instead of bishop c1, you could have played something like a3. Maybe if I play b5, bishop back 2, then you can play b4, and you can play on this backward pawn on c7. So maybe the moves like a3 or even rook c1 is also playable. But bishop c1, yeah, your plan I think is to support the d4 and play e4. But I think bishop c1 is completely waste of a move. So here black plays b5, bishop to b3. Okay, so here instead of bishop b3, okay, there are many options. Even like bishop e2, bishop d3 is also good. So according to theory, most of them play bishop to d3, because if I get b4, I get the e4 square for my knight with the help of this bishop. So it's an option. You can play even play bishop b3, but after b4 you should fix this knight to a4 or e2. So that's what happened in the game. After bishop b3, b4. So here definitely I'll prefer knight a4, because the main thing is knight really can't do anything on the king side. So what you played on knight e2 and g3 is not doing anything. So after knight a4, bishop d2, maybe rook c1, I can just take the c file control. Can play knight c5 with the help of the bishop, sorry, rook. So knight a4 is I feel like knight a4 is much correct than knight e2. So knight e2, a5, knight g3. Here knight g3 or e4, both are equally good. So knight g3, knight g4. I think your opponent simply gave up. So here h3, good. Knight f6 back. You played e4, very nice. And he simply played a4. I think this is very bad, because after bishop a4, white achieves some targets now, like bishop into c6. I don't have, see, like immediately bishop is not doing anything, so your opponent is completely giving up a free pawn. So bishop to b7, bishop f4 is a very nice move, because the very target. So g6. So here after g6 you again played bishop h6, I think, which is not required here. because you can't create any more weaknesses. So you bring the bishop, you can't do any checkmate on the g7. So if you play bishop h6, maybe I'll play rook here. Okay, so you can play rook c1, something like that. But immediately after playing this, rook e8, rook c1, both are same. But I prefer like developing a piece is much more accurate than playing bishop to h6. So rook c1 is okay. So even bishop h6, rook e8 also you can play rook c1. But playing rook, developing the rook is much more accurate, I guess. So bishop h6, rook e8. Now definitely rook c1. There is no other option, because to pin this, to apply some pressure, to apply the pressure on c7, and most importantly to utilize the spin, you need to play rook c1. So you played something queen c2, which gives him some chance of giving this rook and try to play some counter attack, but still white is clearly winning. So if you play rook c1, maybe you get this knight on c6 for free. There is very hard to support this knight. Okay, good. Queen c2, knight d4, knight into d4, queen into d4, bishop into e8, rook into e8, and you played queen d2. Yeah, yeah, you're winning. So exchanging the queens will make you more easy. I agree, but why he will exchange? Simply he'll play queen e5. So instead of playing a move like this, I definitely take this one, because it also attacks the pawn on bishop on e4, which makes few more pieces to exchange, like bishop into e4, knight into e4, knight into e4, then bishop e3 maybe. So that may be the easy continuation to play something like, okay, let us see, queen here. For example, say bishop into, okay, so bishop into is a mistake actually. I have an intermediate move, rook a d1, which gains a tempo. So I think bishop into e4 is not there. Okay, so bishop a8, then it's a very clear that queen c7 is a very nice move. Okay, so queen d2, queen e5, bishop f4. Yeah, bishop f4, queen c5. Yeah, rook a c1, very nice. Queen a5, rook into c7, rook d8. So here the simple move is queen c1. Very simple to defend the rook. Most importantly, you should not allow any kinds of moves like b3. We played queen c2, which is a little bit risky, because immediately after b3 you might consider that rook is lost. Actually that happened in the game. And c3, now I think queen c3 is the only move. I don't know why you captured this pawn and gave up the rook. Maybe you're considering something else, that you can get this one of the bishop. But actually what happened here is, after queen into rook, now black is clearly better. Maybe rook d1 instead of doing anything. I just threaten so many things. I'll make this king uncomfortable now. Yeah, I think rook d1 is perhaps winning clearly. I don't know how to escape this check now. Because see, even if you move the knight somewhere else, for example knight d2, I have queen h1 check, which is so dangerous. King g3, knight into e4, and I think it's lost. So queen into e4 is not possible. So if I move the king somewhere, like then knight f2, king g3, queen g2 is a mate. So this happens. Okay, so after rook d1, I think you should capture this queen into rook. That is the only move. Then from a clear winning position, you are totally losing. Okay, so after b3, you have a good continuation. Maybe you can play queen c3. You need not be worried about bishop b4, as f6 is hanging. So after f6, bishop into b1 is not a check, so he's not gaining any tempo. So then now bishop h6 is a very dangerous threat. You're not worried about anything. Simply bishop h6, queen g7 is a mate, or queen f7, queen h7 is a mate. So this is totally winning. Okay, so you took this, and he took queen into rook. You played king h2, and your opponent didn't saw that. Sorry. And what he played exactly? Sorry, he played. Bishop into e4, and you took knight into e4. Okay, yeah, so here bishop into, okay, fine, knight into e4, knight into e4, rook into e7, knight into f2, which is the only mistake. Sorry, which is the only way to get advantage for black. So you played queen c7. Now, I think this is a big mistake. So queen c7, you missed a tactical move with knight g4. So this is after knight g4, h into g4, queen h4 check, king moves to g1, and queen into e7, and black is an exchanger. Okay, so your opponent is an unrated. I can't expect to see these tactics with your opponent. So knight f2, queen c1, he played queen e2. Okay, one second. Yeah, queen e2, bishop h6, queen e5 check, queen f4. I think bishop f4 is the only try here, because if you go for an end game, black is still doing good, no? I don't think these two pawns will go much farther. Queen f4, queen into f4, for example, um, bishop into f4, king f8, maybe rook somewhere like a7, and knight d3. I can say that black should be okay. I think black should be slightly better in this position, because I have only one weakness, that I need to get these pawns, and I'm doing well with that. Knight into b4, and knight can even block the pawns to d5. No, I don't know, because this position anything can happen. So instead of that, maybe you can play something like bishop f4, which is for sure this is an equal position, because after bishop f4, queen don't really have good squares. So queen, if he plays, for example, attack the rook, I play bishop g5. Can repeat the moves and take a draw. But you played knight g. Okay, so from bishop h6, queen f4, he played knight g4 check. I don't know why. This is simply losing. H into g4, queen here, queen into d6, simple. Queen into d6 and rook e8. So you played good. Some mistakes in the middle game, and opening is very solid, like completely very strong, and I can say. But middle game, you need to watch out, and sometimes you are simply giving up the moves like queen e1, what you have played in the game, queen e1. So these moves you have to be watch out. Remaining, I'll just send you the other games also.